fix the passenger side axle, there were 7 bolts that I had to take off in order to get the axle out. Unfortunately on this you can't just pull on it and it will come out. It's not designed that way. There's a locking ring that's on the other side of this this plate here, and basically this plate holds the axle onto an axle housing, and I'll show you that when I go underneath the vehicle here in just a second. But there's 4 bolts that hold this plate on. There's one right here, one down here, and there's 2 on the other side. You can't see real great because there's some stuff blocking. Then there's 2 bolts, big bolts, that hold the this plate onto the frame. You can see me pointing at one here. There's one that's also back here. I don't know if you can see that real great. Anyway, it's right there. I'll give you a better look at this when I go underneath the vehicle. And then the last bolt you got to take off is this steering linkage here, so that this arm of this plate right here can be pulled off. So I'll go underneath the vehicle and show you what those bolts look like. Okay, so here's that housing that I was telling you about for the axle. Basically, it's a long axle that goes into the front differential here, and then here is the plate that I was showing you with the 4 bolts in it holding it onto this axle housing. So we'll be taking those off. There's also another bolt holding it onto the frame that we need to take off, and that is right here, that bolt there. And then there's another bolt right here. Oh, you can't see that one very good at all. Let me see if I can get the light over here for it. My hand's blocking it. Let's see. Alright, you see that bolt right there? That's the one we got to take off. And then just this this steering linkage right here. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of what I'm doing. I know the camera's real close, so sorry about that, but you know, if you got the Haynes or the Chilton, you can see which bolts you need to take off. Okay, so the first bolts I'm going to take off, and you don't need to do this in any particular order, but I'm going to take off the 4 plate cover bolts, and these can be real tough to get off. So I'm going to use an extension with the socket on there. This is just an 11/16 inch socket, and I'm going to use the breaker bar for it. Okay, I forgot that there's a bolt that's up here that's really hard to get off on that cover. So I'm going to have to take off the 2 bolts that hold the cover up onto the frame, and then I'll be able to move it a little bit and be able to get that bolt out. So just an FYI on that. Okay, I don't know if you can see this real great, but that bolt there is one of the bolts that is holding on the cover. So this one here, the other side of this bolt, or the nut for this bolt, is actually a part of the frame. So you don't have to worry about getting a ratchet on top of that to get that out. However, on the front side here, I don't know if you can see it real great. The stick's pointing at that bolt there. That one does have another bolt on the other side, or nut on the other side, excuse me. And you can't see it at all up here, but basically you need to get a ratchet or a crescent wrench and hold the nut so you can get that bolt the rest of the way out. Alright, you can see this this thing here. You can see the washer. This is where the bolt was that was, well, one of the bolts that was holding on the axle cover to the frame. And now this bolt here is exposed, so I can get to it a lot easier. Basically what happened was when I take those bolts off, it just dropped everything down. So anyway, I'm going to pull those bolts off and then try to see if we can get this covered out. Okay, one of the things I got to do now is get off the shock here. Basically there's just a bolt up there at the top, one down here at the bottom. That'll help us so we can get the plate out. Also, I'm having a hard time getting this ball joint off for the steering linkage. So hopefully I can get that off a little bit better once I get this shock removed. Okay, I was finally able to get this thing knocked loose, and just so you know, that's with the tires turned all the way to the left. If you're doing the passenger side, it would be all the way to the right. Now that I've got it popped loose, I want to move that back so I can get the plate off of there, and so I'm going to have to move it all the way to the right for the driver's side, all the way left for the passenger side. Alright, I got all the bolts off of this, and you can see there now it's pretty loose. Let me show you. So now you just got to get creative on how to get it out of there. Just note, you might have some residual differential oil that will come out of that tube that protects the axle. So just be aware of that. All right, so I'm underneath the car again. This plate cover is a pain to get out. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is, you see this little, let's see if I can get it in there. I've got a rag right here so that the differential quits dripping. But you see this little clip ring right here? You just grab it with your, I don't even know what these things are called. But you just grab it like that and pull it out. I can't do it with one hand here and holding the camera at the same time. Alright, so you just grab it like that, pull it off of there. Alright, I didn't want to try to film this while I was under the car, so imagine, if you would, the plates where it was and the axles on there. This is that clip that you saw me take off. Once you got that off and the bearing off, the bearing can be really tough to pull off. I used that ball joint separator. You know, I put it in there, kind of pry it a little bit, then move the axle, pry it a little bit, and basically just work the bearing off like this. There's also another clip ring in here that holds this this rubber gasket onto the axle. So you just need to take your tool here and pull that off. I didn't want to try to do that underneath the car, that's why I pulled it out here and put it back together. Once you've done that, this little thing just slides off. Oops, sorry for the camera work. That just slides off, and you want to clean these things up, put them over here on the side. Just don't forget the order that went in. If you did and you have like a Haynes, you can just follow that to get it back on. But now basically you just take this off. You just pull the axle out, and then this plate right here can come out pretty easy. But you're going to want to put this back in there before you put the new axle in, just because this thing is almost impossible to get out. You can see there I tried to pull that off just to see if it would help, and it didn't. So I think that pulling the locking rings from the inside before pulling the plate off is the way to go. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Okay, so now that the axle's out, I think that's a pretty good stopping point. Before I completely quit for the night, though, I'm going to go ahead and clean off some of these bearings just so that it has some time to dry before repacking them tomorrow and putting everything back together. Also tomorrow I'll need to fix this this bolt. Remember, this is where we screwed those, or we drilled those screw heads off. I'm going to need to drill these screws out, and I'm going to use a drill press for that, just so that I'm careful not to screw up the threads. And we'll get some new screws at the hardware store.